Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, Director of Real Estate Academy of America and qualifying broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors. And today's contract tip is the first in a series of the long-awaited changes to the Georgia Association of Realtors contract forms. So the 2023 GAR contract forms, the changes they are making for 2023, and this will be an ongoing series of the changes and little tidbits just to give you a taste of what to expect next year. I am recording right now in December of 2022. I will link our training calendar below for the Real Estate Academy of America, formerly the Georgia Real Estate Academy. Same great classes, same great instructors. Classes are taught virtually and in person. Just a new name. So I will link a link to the calendar below, the master calendar, and please keep checking it as we continually add classes on to the calendar. We will be teaching the 2023 GAR contract changes CE course for 3 hours of CE credit throughout December, and then continuing on into January and February of 2023. But just to get started, just want to give you a little bit of a taste of what these changes are, and we do go into way more depth in the CE classes, so please attend those classes, but just wanted to share with you some of the changes. So there's not a lot of changes and only 2 new forms, but let's just dive in. So the first change that I want to talk about is a change. Actually, it's not really a change. Well, it is a change in the verbiage, but what it is a clarification in the GAR, Georgia Association of Realtors Purchase and Sale Agreement regarding the closing firm and which party the closing firm represents. So let me start off with a question. Whom does the closing attorney represent? Well, the answer is, as they say, air quotes, follow the money. That's right. If there is a loan involved, then who is the money with respect to a loan? Yes, it's the mortgage lender. So if there is a loan involved, if a buyer is getting a loan, then the closing attorney represents the mortgage lender. If there's no loan involved, whom does the closing attorney represent? Well, if you think through, follow the money, who is providing the money for the purchase and sale of a property? It's the buyer. So the GAR purchase and sale agreement does have verbiage and has had verbiage in there that the closing attorney does represent the buyer should there not be a mortgage lender involved. However, and this has always been the case, just very thankful to GAR that they have put verbiage in there to clarify this for the public, because what the public mistakenly may have thought is that they have legal representation should there be a dispute. That is not the case. This is just with respect to the verbiage or the notion of a closing attorney representing a buyer should there not be a mortgage lender involved, just means that the closing attorney represents a buyer with respect to the closing documents and the buyer's position in the purchase and sale agreement. So the actual verbiage that GAR has put in there does clarify that the closing attorney does not represent one of the parties should there be a dispute. The closing attorney does not warrant the title in absence of any signed agreement specifying that. The closing attorney does prepare the closing documents. The closing attorney does clear title per the title insurance standards, does record the deeds, and does issue title insurance. So let me read to you what the actual change for 2023 says. So the paragraph continuing on from 2022 states that The buyer shall have the right to select a closing attorney to close the transaction and hereby selects the closing attorney referenced herein. In all cases where an individual closing attorney is named in this agreement, but the closing attorney is employed by an owner, shareholder, or member in a law firm, the law firm shall be deemed to be the closing attorney. In other words, with respect to the contract, the closing attorney and closing law firm are one in the same. If a buyer's mortgage lender refuses to allow that closing attorney to close this transaction, the buyer shall select a different closing attorney acceptable to the mortgage lender. The closing attorney shall represent the mortgage lender in any transaction in which the buyer obtains mortgage financing. In transactions where a buyer does not obtain mortgage financing, the closing attorney shall represent the buyer. Now, that has been the same in from 2022. In 2023, and this is the paragraph in the GAR Purchase and Sale Agreement, which is F201, and this is paragraph B5. So adding on to that paragraph, they have added, in preparing the closing documents, so it goes on, it's continuing on that sentence that the closing attorney shall represent the buyer in preparing the closing documents, attempting to clear title of the property to the satisfaction of the title insurance company, conducting the closing, dispersing funds according to the settlement statements signed by the parties and closing attorney, timely recording deeds, and issuing an owner's title insurance policy. Other than those services specifically listed above, nothing herein shall obligate the closing attorney to perform other legal services, including but not limited to certifying or warranting the title of the property for the buyer, except pursuant to a separate engagement agreement signed by the closing attorney and the buyer. So again, that has actually always been the case. It is just now clarified in the purchase and sale agreement, because when you think of attorneys and you think of representation, it's an easy conclusion to think that has to do with a dispute between the parties. So should there be a dispute between the buyer and the seller, for example, the buyer does not have legal representation from the closing attorney, should there be any litigation or arbitration or any other disputes. Again, this is just with respect to the deeds and the title as addressed, as I just mentioned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Dana Sparks, Director of Real Estate Academy of America and qualifying broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.